Hello and welcome to the Theater of My Mind, the place where I, the Fairy Queen of Shadow style, Titania Bird, tell you about things that I have done or created in tabletop RPGs. Now, in recent times, we have been doing a series on the superheroes of my Temet Nosce universe, and as always, links to those stories will be in the description below. But this time, I want to step away from the good girls and take you to the other side of the ethical coin. We're going to be talking about a supervillain that I created. And I want to start this off with kind of a little bit of a mental exercise. If you want to, you can pause the video at a certain point and write out in the comments what your answer is to the following situation. Imagine you're me about 2-ish years ago. You've started writing the stories about Scarlet Quire, then known as Crimson Varlet, later to become Crimson Talon. And as she's learning how to manage her powers, you're wanting to introduce someone who can be a foil to her. Someone who maybe has been through the same kind of situation, been under the wing of Temet Nosce, been working with the likes of the previously mentioned Persevera de la Cruz, Tatya Alexeyev, and underneath the leader Amelie Cognoscia. But someone who, instead of staying with Temet Nosce, ultimately left it. And left it on bad terms. Bad enough terms that she not only doesn't want to be a part of Temet Nosce anymore, but she actively hates Temet Nosce. She wants to see Temet Nosce fall apart, or at the very least, she wants to see Lady Cognoscia dead. If you wish, you may pause the video at this point, because I'm very interested to see what all some of you might have come up with as an answer to this particular question. I myself came up with this answer. My friends, I introduce you to Angela Gibson, or as she's known in her supervillain guise, Driver. Now, the name comes from the parts of the speaker, specifically the magnet that actually makes the membrane move and makes it move in such frequencies that it creates certain kinds of sounds. You can actually see here on her chest plate that she has the speaker symbol right there, a huge gauntlet, armored head to toe. She is actually phonokinetic. She can create and manage sound and weaponize it to her ability, which plays into Scarlet's weakness of being misophonic. She can Angela can hit those right precise frequencies to induce panic attacks in Scarlet and disrupt her focus and thus her control of her psionics. And the best way that she could do that is with this item back here. A guitar, which functions as an axe, which can be weaponized twice over. Mostly because she cannot play a guitar for shit. This is actually what she would have looked like in her Temet Nosce days, when she was a superheroine under the name of Amplitude. Of course, you can still see the speaker emblem on her chest plate there, on her chest there. But this is before an event that happens before what I had started writing as part of the Temet Nosce. This is part of an event known as the Sundering. I have not gone into explicit detail as to what the Sundering is as of yet, only to say that after the Sundering, about half of the people who were involved with Temet Nosce at that point in time were either dead or missing. Angela was not one of either one of those categories, but it made her so disillusioned and so angry with Emily Cognoscia, especially. She wanted to be an independent hero, but Emily, just trying to process what had happened, was like, no, I don't want you to do this. She would later correct that mistake when Scarlet would ask to be a more independent heroine. But Angela, she got mad about this and she went off to be her own entity. Not a superhero, though. She went off to become a criminal. And this is actually an image of an alternate universe version of her from Star Wars The Old Republic, the MMO. She is my bounty hunter character there. But we're not here to talk about Star Wars The Old Republic. In fact, we're not even here to talk very much more about Amplitude. We're here to talk about Angela, otherwise known as Driver, Gibson, and what she would look like in D&D 5th edition. And, given what I have said and shown, is probably not much of a surprise that she is an artificer. What can I say? I like the artificer class. I play an artificer in a pirate-themed game with some friends of mine on one of my Discord servers, and I'll probably talk about that character at a later time. You know, not going to get too much into it here, just give you a little bit of tease for things possible in the future. But I've grown to love playing that kind of a class. And I've also run games for people who are artificers, and artificers are freaking fun. They're basically magical engineers, which fits entirely with what Angela is. She is, aside from being phonokinetic, being a powered individual, she's also very skilled with electronic engineering. She built her own suit, and she's also aligned with another villain who was created by a friend of mine. The villain's name, Lady Cortex, aligned not only to work together, but romantically. You know, they're fiancés at this point. Angela adopted Lady Cortex's daughter, and because Lady Cortex is a skilled bioengineer, Scrooge under essentialism, they've had 2 kids of their own together. So, you know, she's doing pretty well for herself. And I actually want to start off by going into the background on that as a result. Of course, her background is that she is a criminal. So that was an easy background choice to make for her. Her alignment, though, she's not evil per se. Yes, she wants to murder at least one person. And on a regular basis, most of the times that she interacts with Scarlet, it's on an antagonistic level. But, and one of the titles of the Temet Nosce stories that I wrote actually references this. Her main motivation is to do what is best for herself and the people that she cares about. So I have her as a chaotic neutral character. You know, she's clearly against the law. She is a supervillain. She steals to further her and her fiancé's ability to do their own criminal activities, to enrich and further themselves. But when it comes to, you know, altruism versus selfishness, there's kind of an enlightened self-interest about her. She doesn't give 2 shits about Temet Nosce, but if someone were to want to destroy everything, she'd be just as likely to go after that person as well. So she definitely falls more on the neutral side of that, thus chaotic neutral. And in accordance, her ideal is, of course, freedom. that was what broke her away from Temet Nosce in the first place. Was she wanted Amelie, she wanted Lady Cognotia to trust her more and let her operate independently and not be under so strict of a structure, especially after big cataclysm. She's very headstrong. The best way to get her to do something is to say, "Oh, no, you can't do that. You can't create various different devices that use sound to destroy things." She's a very honest individual, though. She will be very upfront with what she wants and who she is. She cannot lie very well. And in fact, that's part of what sparked the relationship between her and Lady Cortex. Was some of the things that she had left behind were still bothering her, and Cortex could just see right through that, and the two of them bonded basically over their own past traumas there. And of course, she always has a plan for things to go wrong. She's a very intelligent and very keen on making plans on the fly. Now, when it comes to her stats, she is decently strong. Of course, pretty dexterous. Her armor does kind of limit that. Very durable. She's gone up against Scarlet in her berserker hyperfixation state and managed to come out of it alive, really, amazingly. Stunningly intelligent. As previously mentioned, she is an electrical engineer. Very charismatic. I don't know about you, but she's a pretty she's a pretty girl. It's no wonder that she landed such a brilliant bioengineer here and had kids with her, because she is pretty. But of course, she's not super wise. She can be a little rash on a fair basis, so I went ahead and gave her a hit to wisdom on that front. But you notice she's got 3 save proficiencies. Intelligence and con are proficiencies there from artificery. But she's also got a proficiency in charisma. We'll talk about that later. But yeah, she is an artificer, so she is proficient in quite a lot of armor. In fact, artificers are usually proficient in both light and medium armor and shields. But in her case, she's also got heavy armor, and that's because of the exact kind of artificer she is, but we'll get to that later. Proficient in firearms, which I suppose I could have her use firearms in Temet Nosce, though not a lot of people in that particular world use any type of gun aside from stun or electrical, or stun guns or plasma blasters. More so in another related story that is kind of I have set in that same universe, but another long tail. And of course, proficient in all kinds of tools. Skills, arcana, or in this case, being able to use her own abilities. Deception. I know I took the flaw that says she's not a very great liar, but some people aren't that great at reading, so she can still put them over somebody. Not everybody's quite that perceptive. Very skilled in investigation, sleight of hand, and stealth. Though notice that there is a disadvantage in stealth because she is a very heavily armored person. Not much for subtlety, this girl. I should take a side note and notice that this is another case where instead of using human and the variant human so that I could give her a feat, I decided to use the custom lineage, and part of that is because In the course of having children with Lady Cortex, there was some bioengineering done to Angela to kind of bolster her phonokinesis on there. So let's go over the racial traits that she got here. Of course, medium creature, because she's basically human. That's where she has her arcana efficiency. I also gave her the feat Elemental Adept for thunder to reflect her phonokinesis. She has resistance to thunder damage. She can take higher thunder damage on there. I did go with other additional feats. I took durable because, again, she's very, very tough. Keen mind because, again, very, very intelligent and on the ball. And resilient charisma. That is where that proficiency in charisma saves comes from. But now let's talk about her class features. And specifically, I want to mention the type of artificer she is. There are various different types of artificer that you can do that are basically specializations. There's battlesmith, which is basically kind of helping out your friends. There's artillerist, which is very attack focused. There's alchemist, which creates like various different potions that can do very different things. She is an armorer, and what that basically means as being an armorer, she has an arcane armor that she built for herself, of course. She usually uses the guardian form of armor. I think that would reflect her actual armor the best. It's not that great as far as stealth goes, as opposed to the infiltrator armor. But it does increase her offensive capability, and actually has thunder gauntlets. Again, thunder is basically sound damage in D&D 5e, so there's that reflection there, and also a defensive field that gives her additional temporary hit points. Flash of Genius is one of my favorite artificer feats. I love this so much. What this basically means is that before the DM says what the result of a roll is, if you see a roll that's just like a little bit not great, or you think you can kind of switch the odds in the favor for either yourself or someone else on a skill check or a saving throw, you can immediately use your reaction for that round and give that person your intelligence modifier bonus. So in this case, a +5 for her. I use this all the time when I play Artificer because it's such a great way of, no matter what the skill check is, you get to say, as a reaction, my character does this and provides a flash of genius, and you get to describe what it is that comes into your character's head at that time to give yourself or that other person an edge. It is a fantastic freaking feat. I love Flash of Genius so much. I cannot gush about it enough. Spell storing item, you can, because she is at least 11th level, she can store a spell that she has into an item and use it up to 10 times, first or second level, so it's not that great of one. But even so, it's a pretty good feat to have. All right, now let's go into the inventory, which, since the last time, the inventory system has kind of switched up a little bit for D&D Beyond. It is a little bit different, or maybe it was different the last time and I just didn't notice. That's very possible. I am not observant sometimes. But the main thing I want to go at is, of course, showing off the things that she has attuned. Now, to start with, there are a few things that she has that have infusions into them. This is another specific artificer thing where you can take certain non-magical items and add magical infusions into them. This makes them magical items without, having to like go through this huge ritual to enchant them. And it's a lot more flexible. For instance, her armor is infused with enhanced her shield that's on there. She does have a shield, which is really just kind of a part of the armor for driver's case. Is enhanced with an additional +2 bonus to defense, giving her this really burly armor class of 22, which she can then also cast the spell Shield of on top. Her helmet, of course, since she wears one, Helm of Awareness, advantage on initiative rolls, can't be surprised. Just like that, basically, it is make her helmet like the Iron Man helmet, where it's Jarvis is like, where you've got like the AI inside attack coming from that direction. Enhanced weapon. I enhanced a great club to reflect the guitar/axe, mostly because axes are not simple weapons. At least not great axes. And a ring is a spell refueling ring, which lets her use that to recover spell slots that are used. So she has the ring and the helmet attuned, of course. Aside from that, additional things that she has, a absorbing tattoo for thunder, of course. Even though she already has resistance from the elemental adept. Even if she didn't have that feat, she'd still have resistance from this. But the main thing is that she can absorb thunder damage. Sound weaponry is not going to work against her. You can't fight fire with fire necessarily. And you can't fight a phonokinetic supervillain with phonokinesis. Just not going to happen for you. But most importantly, I've given her the all-purpose tool, because why have 15 different kinds of tools on hand weighing yourself down when you have one that is extremely versatile and boosts your spell casting ability? At some point or another, I'm probably going to get this item for my own artificer, because this is like a great thing for an artificer to have. Speaking of spellcasting, artificers are a half-caster class. They don't have as much spells as a wizard or a sorcerer or a cleric or a druid would have. That's just not how they operate. So they only get 3 cantrips: Mage Hand, Mending, and Thunderclap. Of course, Thunderclap. So the highest level spell that she can cast right now is 3rd level. So let's take a look at the highlights. Catapult. This is a common artificer spell because it is basically you on the fly mechanically creating a tiny little trebuchet to take a rock or something else and going. Cure wounds, because of course a bit of a healing factor. Bending actually can do healing to certain things that certain other kinds of artificers can do, but for her, cure wounds is fine. Expeditious retreat, otherwise known as the lowest level get the fuck out of their spell. Grease is the word that you've heard. It's got a groove. It's got a meaning. and it's also really useful for an artificer to have. Identify, because of course, if you're out in the wild, you want to have someone who can be able to tell you exactly what that sword is and how cursed it is before you attune to it. Magic missile. Some artificers don't naturally get this for some strange reason, or didn't. Or maybe I'm just an idiot and never put it on my artificer to begin with. It doesn't particularly matter. But magic missile, because force damage. I can see it also kind of playing with phonokinesis. It's just like push back kind of stuff. And then, of course, naturally, Thunderwave. Second level spells, aside from the ones that can be upcast. Blur. Everything's so blurry. Everyone's so fake. And please shoot me, because I just referenced Puddle of Mud. Ugh. Anyway, Blur gives every creature disadvantage against you as you're kind of phasing in and out of existence for a while. Of course, if you have blind sight or true sight, not a factor. Dark vision, always good to have, especially because sometimes you just got to be able to see somewhat in the dark. So having like enhanced sight vision, and I think I picked this one partially because some of the genetic enhancements involved like bats, so echolocation, that kind of thing, being able to see better in the dark. Heat metal, also a good thing for an artificer to have, because you can use that for like reforging things, or for causing someone pain for picking up something metal that you don't want them to have a hold of. Mirror image, illusion tech, not really particularly picked for driver, but mostly just because at that level I couldn't really think of too many more important options there. And then, of course, because thunder damage, shatter. Another one of those spells that I really freaking love giving to people for some reason. Third level, elemental weapon. You make the weapon thunder damage. Yes, there is a pattern here. If you haven't picked up on it by now, I'm kind of concerned for you. Hypnotic pattern. I kind of charm somebody for a little while. I did say she is rather charming. Lightning bolts. Again, electrical engineer, so while she normally is concerned with keeping electricity contained, sometimes, she can send it out. And protection from energy. You can gain resistance or give resistance to somebody of one damage you use, including thunder. So if, say, she and Lady Cortex were actively in combat together, she could protect her dear darling from side effects of shit that she's doing. And really, that's the long and short of Driver. That's what she is. And I hope you like what I've done with her. And I hope you read the stories and find her to be an adequate foil for Scarlet. I think that next time we do this, I am going to go back to Hero for at least one more. Because there's a little teenage girl in Temet Nosce that I've talked about a few times, and I think it's time to show you what she can do. Next time, when the Theater of the Mind opens again, we'll be talking about Blue Fox, aka Tatya Alexeyev. Until then, the show is over. I will take my bow. Later, y'all.